Hi, team. Well, welcome to 10 Talks, another conversation all about how women win. And today is going to be quite a journey from kind of a way back past to the future, and a dear friend of mine, somebody that's near and dear to my heart. And so welcome, Annie. This is a treat to have you sharing just your words of wisdom about how women win. And so Kathy, go ahead, intro Annie for us.
Well, my intro of Annie doesn't have anything to do with all of her career highlights, which we will touch on because she certainly has been a woman who has won in every aspect of her life. Yeah, so Annie and I played in one of the first iterations of a women's professional basketball. We both graduated from college in '78. I was at Michigan State. She was at UCLA. And I was playing for the Minnesota Phillies of the Women's Basketball League, and Annie was playing for the New Jersey Nets. Was it Gems. The New Jersey Gems? That's it, Gems. My assignment when we played against each other was to guard Annie. And 2 minutes into the game, I had 3 fouls and was on the bench. So I didn't do great at that assignment. But then, as she has reminded me, I had 3 more fouls and I was able to use them when I got put back in the game. But anyway, just a fabulous, fabulous basketball player. But that's just the story from the late 1970s. And there's so much more to it. And so, Annie, you're going to have to fill us in on some of the gaps between you fouling me out and your life of success.
Well, the WBL came into existence, as you said, back in '78, '79. And I was the #1 draft pick of the WBL by the Houston Angels. And I did not play that first year of the WBL because I was still at UCLA getting my degree, and I wanted to stay amateur for the 1980 Olympics, which I had been playing USA basketball from, '74 since, and was on the '76 Olympic team, and was the captain of the '79 World Championship team, and wanted to play for Sue Gunner, who was going to be the Olympic coach in 1980. She was our assistant in 1976 with Billy Moore. And so was playing a lot of USA basketball and was hoping to go to the 1980 Olympics. And my brother David, who went to UCLA and played for Coach John Wooden, was already playing in the NBA with the Milwaukee Bucks. He had been drafted by the Lakers and was in the trade that brought Kareem to LA, and 4 guys went to Milwaukee, and Dave was one of them. So he was already playing in the NBA, and I knew a lot of people from the NBA, being at UCLA and Pauley Pavilion and playing a lot of pickup games with the guys, and certainly did not know that this was going to happen. But when we got back from the Spartacade games in Russia, I got a call from the new owner of the Indiana Pacers, which was Sam Nassy, asking, how would you like to try out for our team? And so I was not drafted in the NBA. I was signed as a free agent. And I had to outweigh a lot of things because I was still hadn't got my degree yet, or maybe I had got my degree, but I was waiting to go to the '80 Olympics, and you had to be an amateur at that time. So a lot of things were happening, and I thought, what an opportunity of a lifetime. I mean, 5 years before that, when I was in high school, between my junior and senior year in high school, I played on the boys' summer league team. I had planned on playing on the boys' team during the regular season, during the school year. But I had a lot of people talk me out of it. I was intimidated by a lot of things that were being said about me and so forth. And so I walked away from it. But I'm just a believer that one door closes, another one opens. And so when I didn't play on the boys' basketball team, which I played on the girls' basketball team, and I played 7 sports in high school, and I had wonderful teachers there. But the opportunity came to try out for the USA team. And so as a senior in high school, I made the USA team. And we went around the country playing the Soviet Union, the Russians. And which they're not the Soviet Union anymore, they're Russia. And even today in this country, they still have a feeling of that women should not play after they've had children, or that by the time they're 23, they should be done playing sports. But we never had the opportunity to pursue that, where in the Soviet Union and other countries, they were able to do that into their late 20s and early 30s. And now we're fortunate that we have the WNBA, and Sue Bird is 41 and Diana Taurasi is going to be 40. And they should keep playing because they are still reputable and relevant players. But so anyway, so I went and played USA basketball my senior year in high school. But I look back, when I was asked to try out for the Pacers, and my brother was playing in the NBA, when I was asked to play, I thought, I let people talk me out of it 5 years before. Who knew that another opportunity like this would come? And I do believe that God puts me in places that I've been able to, he gets me ready. And I wasn't going to let people talk me out of it. Slick Leonard, Bob Leonard, who was the coach of the Pacers, the organization was very upset. What is this girl going to do and embarrass us and so forth? But that was never my intent. I was asked to do a National Enquirer story, which that was the first year of National Enquirer. It was the first year of ESPN. But that was, somebody gave me a chance. Somebody gave me a chance to do something that I love. And whether other people thought that I was not capable or good enough, and even the WBL, because I did not play in that first year because I wanted to stay amateur for the 80 Olympics, they were even brutal. They were like, she's not that good. The games passed her by. We've got 10 players better than her. And I was 24 at the time. And now that I look back too, I understood that it was an opportunity for the WBL to get exposure for themselves.
Sure.
But at that time, I didn't realize that. I said, I'm mad and they're putting me down and I don't know if I want to play in this league. But certainly I did come to play in the league, and I went through the tryout with the Pacers. But, I've just had such a wonderful journey, and being a part of the WBL, and really that first league, Kathy, where we are today in the WNBA, that league started everything off.
Well, it certainly was a moment when there were people out there that were willing to take a chance on women's sports. And I mean, I think the place that we are historically, one of the reasons that Carlette and I are engaged in this project is the knowledge that you better lean in when you have chances to lean in, and that this is a new opportunity and chance to lean in because of the things that have happened in the last couple of years, and more attention being brought to women's sports, the conversation being raised again of, are we undervaluing this? And, in the next few years, Annie, we're going to get a chance to prove it, because if there isn't money to be made in women's sports, all the conversation is going to go away as fast as it came.
Well, this is the 50th year of Title IX. The thing that frustrates me to this day, and I'm very vocal about it, is that there were women playing sports way before us. And we just happened to come along at a time where TV was just starting. Right. And I really believe in my heart that if I don't go to UCLA, and it's a personal interest story between my brother and myself, which David was an All-American, won the championship in his senior year, was the last year that Coach wouldn't coach, and they won a championship, so we won 2. But it was a personal interest story. So myself and women's basketball received a lot of exposure. And when you have somebody like John Wooden validating women's basketball, that's huge. We got a lot of exposure on that. And we were on TV. And my senior year, when UCLA won the championship, it was the first time they had a Final Four. Because before that, Delta State and Immaculata, 16 teams would go, and you'd have to play 3 to 4 games to get to the finals.
Right. In a matter of a weekend, you frequently played 2 in a day.
Right. But I'm from a family of 11 children, and my sister Patty is the oldest of 11. I have 5 brothers and 5 sisters. And Patty, God rest her soul, has passed away, but Patty was 8 years older than I was. So I saw women playing softball, volleyball, basketball. They weren't getting, quote, exposure, but they were as competitive as all get out. She played against Joan Joyce, who we just lost last month, who was an unbelievable player, but received a lot of exposure because she struck out Reggie Jackson. Right. And but I saw women playing. I read a book in 4th grade on Babe Didrikson. That's in 1932. Right. I saw Wilma Rudolph run in the Olympics. That gave me a dream.
In 36.
Wilma Rudolph and Wyoming Attias, and then read about Althea Gibson. These were women that were competing. And in soccer, when the women won the World Cup in 99, and at the Rose Bowl, the exposure that those women had and those names and that they brought to light. But now it's like, okay, where's soccer again? We're we know Serena Williams, and we should, but we need to, where are those commercials? Where more and more women need to be out there and have that name factor. The fact, though, that young girls and young women, if they want to play in the WNBA, they don't follow the WNBA. They don't know who the teams are. They don't know who the players are. If you go to a camp and you ask them, who's your favorite player? It's Steph Curry. It's Kevin Durant. It's, LeBron James, whatever. It's a guy. Women need to support women. Girls need to support girls.
We have been going round and round on this. And so what have you found, as much as we're frustrated with it, what's the gap? Why is it not happening?
Because the Title IX has introduced, so 50 years ago when it was introduced,
Right.
80% of the jobs in the high school and colleges were held by women coaches. Since then, less than 48% of those jobs are held by women. Because there is more money in those jobs, men are applying for those jobs.
Right.
And who hires those men to coach?
Men.
Men that are athletic directors.
Yeah.
And so they're hiring people that look familiar, feel comfortable. And it's the same old story. And I was talking to somebody the other day that 100 years ago and 100 years from now, we as women will always feel guilty of trying to balance our lives as homemakers, as wives and mothers, and as business women, and devoting our time to what we love to do. And it's also a stereotype that men have of women too, that, well, do I hire that woman? Are they going to, if they've got kids, are they going to spend time and devote it to recruiting and what they have to do on the floor or the field or the court? So we will always fight that. I don't know how it will change. We continue to talk about it, which I think communication is the most important thing. And even if it is an uncomfortable conversation, that will help bring things to light and trying to work things out.
What are some winning strategies for us to begin to work it out? I mean, you're in this space, and thank you for being such a champion for it. What are some of those winning strategies that you've seen actually have it progress?
Well, communication. Communication is important. I think loyalty and support. You've got to be willing to listen. And all of us come from different backgrounds, economically, socially, racially, religion, so forth. And I think we're at a time now in this country that you have to pay attention to where people come from and their point of view. It is not just white point of view that we grew up in the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s. And so much has changed, and yet so much is the same. But I think if you listen to what the issues are and the problems, I think you can communicate, you come up with solutions. I think having different diversity in decision-making is so important. I don't know whether, even when you're at home and you're remodeling the bathroom, whether you get your kids' input or your husband's input or your wife's input, and having those different conversations help. Where are you going to put the light switch? What kind of faucets are you going to get, or whatever? And but that's certainly true as an athlete too. I think you're seeing more and more coaches that they're looking to get input from the players and the athletes and what they see. And it's just not like it was, the Vince Lombardi days or the Bobby Knight days, and that you just dominate and this is the only way we do it. So I think that there's more communication, and players understand the game a little bit more. I'd like to think that, but when I watch the game, sometimes I'm thinking, do they know how to set a pick and roll? Because there's so much AAU and it's about playing games rather than teaching the fundamentals. And that's in life too. Let's teach the fundamentals. And again, everybody's got different fundamentals they've been taught, but you've got to be willing to listen and communicate.
Yeah, Annie, when you've had so much success across your career, and I don't want to come off as sycophantic here or whatever, but if you look at your resume, I mean, it's just accomplishment upon accomplishment. What makes you different? Have you ever thought about that? I mean, are you different than other women?
I am not different.
What makes you different? No, I mean, I know you said blessings and stuff, but
it is.
And I'm good with that. But I want to know how it plays out. What does it look like? It's
my family upbringing.
Okay.
Coming from a large family, seeing parents that have an unbelievable work ethic that you can't get anywhere without hard work. And being from a family that sports was very important in our lives, that we had fun. We had arguments, But we had fun. We loved what we did, whether we were out playing sports or kick the can or, Clue or card games or whatever. And we're very competitive. And certainly, again, I'm very lucky to have been at UCLA and being coached by Billy Moore and Kenny Washington and Ellen Mosier, and then being around John Wooden and Gary Cunningham. But, your success is your peace of mind, knowing that you did your best to become the best that you're capable of becoming. So coming from a large family, right away, it's teamwork. Everybody has a role, and not everybody. So when you have a big family and 4 or 5 people come home with a trophy,
so what?
It's not one person getting that pat on the back. It's like
so
4 or
what?
5 people getting pat. Yeah. So what? So you go out and work hard. You go out and have fun.
Yeah.
And but certainly, I truly believe that none of us are where we are today without people that help us along the way.
Yeah.
Again, whether it's family, your parents or grandparents or your coaches or your teammates or whoever influences your life. Even in individual sports, you're not doing this on your own. You have a coach helping you. You have somebody supporting you, and to have people be behind you and tell you constructive criticism, but that their love is there for you and they're positive about what you're capable of doing and accomplishing. That's important. The people that I have been in my life have, they've made me who I am today.
So we're 50 years into this experiment with Title IX. Okay,
it's an experiment? Is that what 50? It is?
Yeah, it sure is. Ask anybody in any other country. They're going, what is that? So we're 50 years into this. And we've noted, you've noted it. It feels to me as if there ought to be a lot more girls and women who are sports fans of girls and women's sports, or of women's sports, I'll say, because I think boys aren't generally fans of boys' sports. If they play, then they're fans of men's sports. Do you have any observations on why there isn't a much more significant push by women as sports fans for women's sports?
Well, certainly it's gotten better. There's no question. And it's society. It's how people are portrayed in this society. But, when you think of the changes of, being gay, a lot of athletes not being gay, I will say that the WNBA, out of all the sports, and I want to give credit to volleyball and water polo and tennis and golf and all the other sports for women, but the WNBA has had the voice. These women have changed voting in Georgia. They have been vocal about Black Lives Matter.
Right.
They have been vocal about whether you're gay or not, that you can have a family. They've been vocal now too, as far as binary, like Laisha Clarendon. And people are dealing with that in their own home, with their children making those decisions. How do they deal with that? But the WNBA, they've come out, and whether they're gay or not, which the WNBA is not a gay league, it's a league of women playing basketball. And but I know
very upfront on social issues.
But in professional sports on men's side, men really struggle without coming out. And
I was going to say social issues is not generally what people say they watch sports for.
Good, because men's sports gets the most priority as far as exposure, and so their voice matters. But we live in a world too now that the computer has changed so much. Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, whatever. There's so many, but there's so many more outlets too, as far as stories being written, not only about male sports, but female sports. And that's a big plus, because that exposure helps. And, but to say that, the women are the ones, they have the voice, they come out, even though they're not getting equal pay, but they strive for it, and they are very vocal about it. And because of sports, those women are helping women in the business world and making it vocal. So when you say, okay, so where have we gone? Well, right there, the social issues that we've talked about that are exposed. But the Women's Sports Foundation, started by Billie Jean King and Donna De Verona, started in 75, 76, kind of when Title IX kind of came into existence. and right after Billie Jean had beaten Bobby Riggs.
Bobby Riggs.
So that they've done enough studies that shows that by the age of 14, a lot of young girls drop out of sports. So again, the exposure, what is shown on TV? How do you look like the Kardashians? Can you get rich by having a reality show and so forth? And where's the work ethic? Where's the, it's instant gratification today because of the phone, because of texting, because of, it's such a different approach. Even in AAU sports, by the time you're starting these young kids, at the age of 5, they're playing, soccer, AYSO, and they're playing little league or softball and so forth. And kids get burned out because it's not fun.
Yeah.
Everything is organized. Their parents are spending so much money and they're not doing things as a family on vacation. They're, this weekend we've got to fly to this tournament. And we as parents, my parents would have never had the money to send any of us on a road trip, AAU wise. Everything was local.
Right.
And I know
Playground.
I know people that have children that they will send, they live in one part of the state, and they'll even send their kid to another state sometimes.
Sure. Well, they only have 2. They didn't go for a dozen.
But it's just, that's a stress on these kids. That's, and now we're showing these kids on YouTube and what they can do at the age of 2, dribbling or hitting a baseball. I mean, that's, you're exposed to that. And then by the time you get into high school or whatever, and what happens when all that goes away?
Right.
So mentally, and we talk about mental health, which is huge today with a lot of athletes.
Yeah.
Well, Nanny, I want to talk about just the business of it, because you've transitioned from how powerful women's voices are in sport and how they can translate to business. You've been very successful in business and really worked your way from sport into the business of sport. What are your words of wisdom for any woman that would really like to just advance in sports into the business world, or just use what you've used in their job today?
Well, I'm not a big proponent of glass ceilings. When I was growing up, I always heard the sky's the limit. I don't know who came up with the term, break the glass ceiling.
Right.
I really did not like that term. Now, we've all had adversity and roadblocks in our way and so forth, but the glass ceiling, I want the sky is the limit. That's what I was told as a child in the generation that I grew up. And so when I hear women not supporting women on the business side, and again, I think that needs to be more and more. But I will say that more women in business, because they competed in sports, they know how to compete on the professional level as far as corporations are concerned. And the other thing that I've heard, most recently is, you've got to stay in the game. Don't push yourself away from the table. You got to be at the table, whether, you're agreeing with the majority of them are men in the business world or the corporate world. But there is more and more diversity, which I think they're trying. But you have to continue to have a voice. So you can't put yourself out. And so it's important to have your opinion, but also to be able to present it in a way. But, it's been proven that men go in and ask for raises all the time. Hey, yeah, I'm good. This is what I did. Women are like, I might get fired. They might change my job. I don't know if I'm good enough. Have I earned that? And so we're always doubting ourselves. And not always, I shouldn't use the word always, but a lot of the times. And certainly I think, though, that sports has changed that in a lot of us, that we are more confident, and we know that we do have leadership skills, and we do know that we're going to fail. And when you fail, that's okay. That gives us an opportunity to be successful. And that's what Billie Jean King talks about. She says, when the ball was hit to me and it went past me, or if I hit it wrong, I didn't look at that as failure. That was an opportunity to, when that came again, I'm going to be successful. And there's a saying that says, success is not final, failure is not fatal, it's courage that counts. So we lose every day, whether it's in sports or in life. My kids, now I'm not the best mom. I make mistakes all the time. You should have been here, you didn't do this, you didn't do that. But, and that's a great measuring stick as far as your family and your children. Because we know we didn't make the right dinner for them. We didn't, we didn't fold their clothes.
They let us know it all the time.
There's
So
lots of
that's
feedback.
good.
Lots of feedback.
Yeah.
Corrective feedback. They're hoping.
Yeah, constructive criticism.
Yeah.
But I think that what's so great is when women get to that level, we're seeing more and more successful women being confident in who they are in their decision making. And if they fail, or if they get let go or they fire, I've seen more and more women starting their own businesses. You know, I'm not going to rely on this person, but you love to have allies that are men, that are in your corner and that can support you in so many different ways. And you want to be able to have as many allies as you can, in the sense of they have the opportunity, whether it's men or women, in your world, whatever it is, airlines or flowers, or, you know, there's so many businesses that you want to be able to go to people and, you know, one of the things we talked about is what makes winning so good. It's relationships. What kind of relationships do you develop? And I tell young kids today, when you meet somebody, you have a firm handshake and you say your name, who you are, and you ask that person what their name is. And because you never know whether that might be an interview for a job down the road.
What has not worked for you?
Oh gosh, I've doubted myself a lot of times. And I know when I was trying to get into the broadcast business, I had my door closed plenty of times and said, you know, you don't have long hair, you don't have long nails, you'll never make it in this business. Certainly, you know, we're going in a different direction. So, you know, I'm just using broadcasting as an example, but, you know, as a mother, I'm sure that I didn't do things well when I lost my husband. Carlette, as you well know, there's such an emotional impact that takes over losing the love of your life and having that teamwork in raising your children. And not that I did not do it by myself, because I had Don's family and my family. I had friends. They were always there to support me and be there for the children. And so, and again, when I talk about relationships and people in your life that help shape you and support you, that's huge in everything that we do in life. So, you know, I fail every day. I try to be a better person. I try and make somebody else's day a better day. And Coach Wooden said, you can't do something for somebody else with not expecting anything in return. And whether I say somebody, you know, you got a great smile, have a happy day, love what you're wearing, your hair looks great today. What, you know, I mean, people want to be complimented and feel good about themselves. So you got to give back. To those that are given much, we need to give back.
So you talked about the one or a regret that you had when you didn't play on the boys basketball team as a high school student. What are other things that you look back on and you go, boy, I wish I would have? I mean, I'm not looking for failures, but just things that you go, God, I wish I would have leaned in on that.
I don't. Our lives wouldn't be where they are today.
Okay.
Without regrets or without things that went wrong in our lives and so forth. You know, would I love to have my husband next to me today? Absolutely. Would my life be different today? Absolutely. And so where we are is, you know, the things that happen in our life, you deal with it. Adversity happens to everybody. And, you know, it's like the Frank Sinatra song, regrets. I've had a few, but, you know, you got to move on. I think having a positive attitude in life really helps, even when people are sick. I've got a friend of mine that's got prostate cancer and he's going through radiation but his attitude is unbelievable. My mother is 96. She's gonna be 97 in December. She's in a bed 24/7 with dementia, and she broke her hip 3 years ago. The people cannot believe that she's still alive. She has such a positive attitude, and she has a fight and a determination and a grit that I'm like in awe of. So, you know, I think just being positive is really important. And even when things go wrong, I mean, yes, we have to grieve. Yes, we have to, you know, get our anger out and be emotional and so forth. And everybody deals in it, things like that, different ways. But, you know, you've got the day tomorrow, you know, every day, the sun comes up tomorrow. The sun will come up.
You talked about that some people influenced you. And so we're all about influencing in a positive way and really women helping women. So what are some of the big ways that you can inspire women that are listening to just be able to support each other, learning from what you've learned?
It's just my character, again, representing my family, who my parents were. your character is who you are, your reputation is what others perceive you to be. And so, we all make mistakes and we all misstep. We do. But I think that, again, just being positive about yourself, being positive about life. I being a part of a professional sports organization with the Suns and the Mercury, and we lose games. Guys get hurt. Guys fall out. Guys, things happen off the court for both our men and women. And we're dealing with that with Brittany Griner. That's not a loss. That's an adversity that hopefully we can get her back into her country and her home with her family and so forth. But, it just being positive. And Coach Wooden, again, I go back to Papa, and it says, live each day as your masterpiece. We never know when it's going to be our time. So make the best of it.
Let's talk about identity management. So you have had an identity as an athlete and you have transitioned into business. We have lots of women that have an identity as a mom, have an identity as a business person. What have you learned through just managing your identity through all the different transitions that you've had?
Well, that's the balance. That's the balance that we all have. And it's priorities. What is your priority? And for each and every person, it's different. I know my job has changed here with the Phoenix Suns and Mercury, but my priority has always been my children once I lost my husband. And it always will be. Job, I can find another job. But I love doing what I'm doing. I love working for this organization. But certainly my priority is not only my children first, but also in what I do in my job, because of how I was raised, is that I want to do the best that I can. And so I represent the organization, whether we're involved with nonprofits, whether we go to other cities and other teams, talking positively about the organization, which I think that the people that I've been associated with have been all really good people. And I love the teams and want to talk highly about Monty Williams and Vanessa Nygaard, who is the new coach for the Mercury. And just, you just see the progress. And somebody like Diana Trossi, who just is, being around her is such a competitive person, and just, she's class. She really is a class off the court. She's as competitive as everybody else on the court. She's probably done some things on the court that people kind of shake their head at, but off the court, she's one of the most giving people that I've ever met, and what she does in the community and for her family. And to have somebody like that, and we have so many women in the WNBA that are so positive about what they do. As Kathy, you talked about the social issues in life. And but I just think that, just how you present yourself. And I fall a lot of times. And when I'm angry or something, I'm thinking, reel it back in, Annie, just think about this. And is it that important to get upset about? And take a step back and kind of compose yourself and ask for advice on different things, and get different opinions on how something can be handled.
Great treat having you on. Do you have any final words of wisdom that you want to share just for women listening on how women win? I just, be thankful to the people that are in your lives, and, whether they said hello to you, or whether they were a coach or a teacher or, a friend. I know my mom, watching her is, women today as mothers, they're driving all over the place, their kids, and fast food is probably the best meal that you can get them. But my mom had neighbors around in the neighborhood, and they played bridge like 3-4 times a week. But I remember the neighbors coming over, and she was always home to make lunches, to make breakfast, to, greet us at the door, did our laundry, did, whatever. But the women in the community, they were always together, whether they talked about their children or their husbands, or what their life was like and what they were doing. But she always found time for the PTA, for Meals on Wheels, the church laundry, the bridge groups, and just and taking care of us. And, she's a remarkable woman. So I do think that we all believe as women, we can do it all. We stress ourselves out, but again, priorities are going to be important, and how you set your boundaries for your life. Well, beautiful. Thank you, Annie and Kathy. As always, such a treat to have this great conversation. So it's up to you, team. Go out and win your way. Know we are on your support team and we are for you. So go out and make it a great week for you. Thank you, Annie.
Thank you.